I do thank you for giving me just a couple minutes of your time here at Nooga Radio. We are the multimedia platform for the man who matters, and are glad that you are here. We are looking at a federal utility, and as we're trying to be thankful for the federal government more and more. We are, in fact, a pro-government station because we're so pro-government and pro-rule of law. We seem to be in conflict with some folks in the establishment. Now, TVA is a vast political and administrative establishment with a great deal of infrastructure here in the Chattanooga area, namely the dam, and also claims of federal jurisdiction on waterways, on shoreline. And we hear from Scott Fiedler, the TVA spokesman, about how every 100 feet of shoreline or every mile of shoreline is worth $1 million, made valuable, of course, by the flooding out of thousands of farms in the Tennessee Valley in this region at the time of the federally induced, bank-induced depression of the 1930s. And the TVA, the Tennessee Valley Authority, created as a federal behemoth in the utility field, bringing advancement and gain and electricity and running water to the Appalachian, to the Scotch-Irish people who resented losing their lands, resented being depopulated and moving into cities and getting jobs in factories. Well, this is David Tulis, and the federal behemoth, while it may have lower energy prices than other utilities in the country, other regions of the country, it is nonetheless a source of sludge. Now, there are two sludges I want to mention. One is poisonous as the other. The one is sort of imperceptible as a poison. It's one that most people don't even think about, especially as they're traveling down the highway. And that is the rise of the TVA Police Department now running traffic in Chattanooga. The TVA police force is running traffic in Tennessee. Now, its officers have an advantage that the Chattanooga Police Department does not have, as far as I know. And that is the use of LPRs, license plate readers. I'm going to be careful about what I say here because I think I've seen LPR units on patrol cars. And so it's possible that there may be cruisers in the Chattanooga Police Department that use this sniffing device. And what it does is it reads every license plate that it can see. Every license plate that it can see, it runs it digitally, scans it, runs it, matches it with a database, a commercial database, and tells the officer who can use this discretion on whether he's passing someone or near someone who should be stopped. Right? Should be stopped. There are some serious problems in this in the way of abuse of constitutional liberties, and there is a presumption of guilt. There is a presumption of guilt, and only with great care and some study can you learn how to rebut that presumption of guilt of being in commerce, for one, and being required to testify against yourself, number two, on the side of the street, and other points. This is David Tulis. And the second sludge is the 2008 Kingston coal slurry disaster. It's on page 1 of the Chattanooga Times Free Press today by a reporter at the Knoxville Sentinel. Jamie Satterfield is an experienced hand in the press. She's been involved in reporting Tennessee politics and news and business for a long time. And the Kingston line online at the USA Today Network is Kingston coal ash spill workers treated as expendables, lawsuit by sick and dying contends. And so the story is that coal fly ash is the waste product, the lightest, most aerodynamic waste product that comes from boiling, burning coal and running turbines, burning the coal to generate electricity to pump out electrical current for you and for me, right, and for local economy across the region. And there's the waste product. There are different kinds of fly ash. There's heavy, dumpy fly ash, and then there's the light stuff, which is called coal fly ash. It's called fly ash because it flies around. And it's very, very light, very airborne, and great effort is required to get it out of the plume of heat that rises as a the waste product of the burning of the coal, excess heat and fumes and dust goes up the smokestack. So how to catch that? That's done by scrubber projects, limestone wet scrubbers, and other devices. And the reason it's important to keep that out of the air is because it is poisonous. And coal fly ash contains chromium, copper, lead, mercury, zinc, nickel, cadmium, selenium, thallium, antimony, silver, and vanadium oxide, as well as arsenic. Arsenic is in there as well. And the suit by survivors and many of the dying of the workers who cleaned this spill up in 2008 says that they had no protection in doing this awful work. They wore T-shirts and jeans and work boots, and they had reflective gear, but they didn't wear masks. And one reason one man on the scene suspected that masks were not allowed is because it would have looked bad. It would look bad. It would make people think that, whoa, wait a minute, these men cleaning this stuff up have to wear masks. Well, what about the dust devils that roar through here on windy days and create these plumes of ash that go up into the sky? And so there was a worry about why no mask. One man is quoted by a foreman, Mr. Green, who said they didn't want people driving by seeing them out there wearing those dust masks. That was not an image they wanted the public to see. The public had a big lawsuit going over the fly ash, and they didn't want to add fuel to the fire. And so no respirators, no dust masks, and these men became debilitated after 2 weeks, after just merely half a month on the job, moving this 5 billion cubic yards of sludge, much of which was dust. Again, it had turned into dust. There were men sick, and 17 have already died. Many are dying from this 2008 disaster, and the cleanup the next year, 2009. So this has been a long time. And it's important to mention this because it is a federal utility, TVA, which is securing us, making us safe on the highways now, running traffic. And you can read about this. I would say it's a development at Nooganomics.com. We have just the tip of the story, and that is a single stop of a family whom Scott Fiedler said had a tag on a car that was not proper. So apparently a newly bought used car, and that was the tag on the car evidently. And so the woman driving it with her husband evidently and a child in the back seat in a red restraining chair were let go. They were let go, and a courageous officer did not, Scott E. Stone, did not take her to the magistrate and to jail. He did not do that, though he could have, right? He could have. It wasn't an arrest. An arrest is when you are not free to leave. And TVA, a coal utility, it produces millions of tons of coal ash every year, is now arresting people concerned about public safety. It's concerned about public safety, as if traveling over the dam at 70 miles an hour damages somehow the infrastructure of the Chickamauga locks more than traveling over the dam at 55 miles an hour on Thrasher Bridge would do. Of course, I'm being a little facetious here, but because Scott Fiedler is very serious. He says that, well, don't we want to have enforced traffic laws? Well, the answer is no, we don't. And the answer is no, we don't, as against innocent members of the traveling public. Those are the party who we should say are not subject to regulation. But we've all bitten into we've all drunk from the status, the progressive Kool-Aid, if you will, and we're all in regulate. We're all in commerce now, right? We're all corporations. We're all in commerce now. And even if we know we're not in commerce, we're not common carriers for hire, we have all the outward signs of it, right? We have driver licenses, we have tags, we have compulsory insurance that we've obeyed, and so on. So the story about the dumping of the coal fly ash pond, the breaking of the dam, and the sludge, the mountain of sludge that crossed many homes, wrecked many homes. Well, you say, why? What do you mean sludge? Well, to keep coal fly ash on the ground, you have to turn it into mud. So these are ponds, and they're mud ponds, and that makes sure that they're always wet and the particles don't take flight. Now, coal fly ash takes flight only when the government pours it out into the atmosphere in the aerosol geoengineering program. That is what we have determined is the material spread across the sky in those horizontal smokestacks, if you will, the sky tattoos which are called aerosol injections. And those are weather pattern changing, evaporation rate altering, storm creating, storm diminishing programs run as part of national security. They're kind of outside of really the public view. But we have learned in the past, I think it was now 2015, that Dr. Marvin Herndon broke that story. The researcher in San Diego, the maverick scientist who does not take federal money, can tell the truth. Whereas all the other scientists, the David Keiths and the Ken Caldieras, they're in tight with the good people in Washington. So they're not going to tell you how dangerous this material is. But it's reasonable for the federal program of aerosol geoengineering to use coal fly ash because it has all the benefits of a lightweight material that stays in the sky. It stays in the stratosphere and it stays in the troposphere, which is where the weather is. And even though it has mercury in it, even though it has arsenic in it and vanadium oxide, even though it has things that are considered dangerous, it does serve a federal purpose. And so you're saying, well, wait a minute, why? You feel a little dissonance at that comment. Well, don't forget that you can have two contradictory government programs, and it makes perfect sense. One program by the EPA under the Clean Air Act keeps the air clean, and so coal fly ash has to be constrained, restrained, kept in mud form in giant pools near the Kingston fossil fuel plant in Kingston, Tennessee. That's to serve one important political constituency. That would be the environmental movement, which is the reason that movement creates the necessity for government, especially federal hegemony, federal control, if you will, over the political and economic landscape. On the other hand, you can have another federal program in military and secret jurisdiction pouring out the same material in the sky by the millions of tons. Why? Well, because we're at war with the sun. And so to prevent the planet from overheating, the story goes, we have to use coal fly ash. Now, the story that Jamie Satterfield has in the Knoxville Sentinel is really remarkable. You can look. I suggest you look for her name is Satterfield, Jamie Satterfield, and I believe it's out of the Knoxville USA Today network, and so the story is about how there's a lawsuit by these injured men, and you can see even in the details of their sufferings. And the careless treatment that the TVA contractor gave to them, you can see the benefits of coal fly ash as a sun retardant. Now, one detail about these in the story about these men who are dying of cancer is that there are negative side effects, of course, to breathing coal fly ash. One man just. Jeffrey Dwight Brewer, 42-year-old man, married, father of three, from Newmarket, Tennessee, said they called it the Kingston crud from inhaling this ash. When new men would come on the job, they would be healthy like you. After a couple of weeks on the job, it sucked the life out of them. They would start the cough, and of course you didn't wear masks. But coal fly ash is valuable for the federal government to disperse in the air. Not in this sense, of course. Here it's bad news, but it's good news in the sense of the geoengineering program. And you can see here's a quote: "You could wipe the ash off with something, with a clean rag, to where they wasn't nothing," he said. And 5 minutes after you shut the door in the truck, you could see them dust particles on the dash, and it was shiny, sparkly. The workers didn't know what the story says, but the toxic metals in the ash made it sparkle with the sunlight. So it was permeating, this ash floats in the air. That's why it's such a good material for the geoengineering program. I don't know whether TVA participates in the sale of that material, that waste product. It can make, it's a waste product that costs millions of dollars to store. And so expensive was this cleanup program that there was $1 million truck wash that washed vehicles off when they left the cleanup area. $1 million. It was a $1 billion ratepayer expense in a cleanup that took 5 years. 5 years to complete. The fact that these particles sparkle on the dashboard, that you breathe it in when you're trying to eat your ham sandwich in the break, tells the value of it to the national government. And that is, it stays in the air and it contains metals. Metals are what? They're reflective. How do you want to maintain coolness below? Well, deflect the sunlight, suspend is a kind of iron girdle over large parts of the country. This cloud cover, which deflects the sunlight. Now, there are some problems with this theory, and I suspect here, David Tulis at Nooga Radio, I suspect that the federal program to dump coal fly ash in the sky is creating the global warming problem that we have. It is exacerbating what is purely a periodic rise and fall in global temperatures. It's making it worse, and it is creating a crisis. I think that crisis is something that's needed by the deep state, by the good people, if you will, and they want to take advantage of it so that they can have more authority and more control. Now, look. Let me just hang on. All right, I'm going to play this little, just quickly, little interview.
Yeah, it was a traffic.
This is Scott Fiedler.
Okay.
Saturday.
How does that work?
How does the traffic stop work?
Yes, please.
They see something suspicious. I mean, it could be a variety of things.
Someone's driving too fast, past the speed limit?
It was a traffic stop.
So the car was pulled over from, is that under Title 55 of the Tennessee Code? Under what authority? The transportation stop? Commercial stop?
I have no idea. It was a traffic stop.
Was the person cited to court?
I just know it was a traffic stop.
Does that person go into a federal court for this? Tell me generally speaking.
I don't know.
Speak generally, Mr. Fiedler. How does it work?
It was a traffic stop. We have law enforcement, who are federal officers, whose jurisdiction is the Tennessee Valley, the states that we serve.
How far is that?
Reciprocity.
How far is that jurisdiction past the dam?
The entire Tennessee Valley, where Tennessee TVA authority is. So that's 7 states.
So you have the authority to stop people driving private cars. This was a family with a child in the back. You stopped them. A federal law TVA stopped a family with a small child in the back for some kind of offense. Is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying, it was a traffic stop.
What is a traffic stop? What is that? What's the problem? What's the offense?
I don't know. It was a traffic stop.
Well, generally speaking, Mr. Fiedler, what do traffic stops do when feds pull people over in a private car?
I'm not a police officer, so I can only tell you that it was a traffic stop.
How many traffic stops are made every month by your department?
I don't know.
Can you find out for me?
Not tonight, maybe Monday.
I understand. It's Saturday night. I understand. I appreciate your taking my call. It is Saturday evening. So,
yeah.
So TVA, under what authority? You said under agreement. Can you say something about that, please?
Well, they have their federal officers operating in the jurisdiction within the Tennessee Valley, and that's within the Tennessee Valley Authority, within the TVA Act.
So a federal officer could run me down and stop me if I run a stop sign in Saudi Daisy at the end of my street. Is that what you're saying? Is that within the authority of your agency?
I would have to check that, but potentially, if there are issues, they will respond.
Are these federal issues or state issues that you're mentioning?
That I don't know. I'd have to check in on that.
How many police officers are there in the Chattanooga area, Mr. Fiedler?
I'd have to check on that.
Okay. Would you please get back with me on Monday?
Yeah, I can.
All right. All right. Where's your office? Where you call it? Where are you speaking to me from?
In Chattanooga.
You're in Chattanooga? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
This is David Tulis. We're hearing a bit of an interview that Scott Fiedler, TVA spokesman, gave to me Saturday. Very fine man. Gave me very excellent comments, and was on the program a moment ago saying that TVA officers have general law enforcement authority. So TVA So effectively, we don't have local police anymore. We don't have a sheriff's department. Where is our defense from local government? Where is our defense from local police? Defending the rights, the property rights, the right to life and liberty of people in Chattanooga. If we have federal police now, then we don't have local police. We don't have local authority. That is a grave problem. That is a grave problem. If we now face traffic stops by the feds who have LPRs, license plate readers, then we are in serious trouble. Let me just ask you, are we in serious trouble? Is this an issue? Does it matter? Well, this is David Tulis, and I think it matters. I think we need to wake up. We need to start paying attention. David Tulis.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and